Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good afternoon and welcome to our webinar entitled Digibank, the Future of Banking. Thank you to everyone who took the time and effort to register for this event, and a big thank you for your presence today. Hope all is well. To our colleague, to our participant from the Philippines, Maligayang Pagdating, and congratulations on winning the first goal for the Philippines after 97 years through Hidlin Diaz. My name is Roslan, and I'll be your moderator for today's event. Thank you to our speaker for taking the effort to share and participate in these events. Please be advised, if let's say any of you have any question, do type in the chat box together with your email address so that in the event we miss your question, we'll pick it up after the event and answer directly to you. Allow me to introduce our speaker for today. Just share the screen. Nicholas is someone is playing music in the background, so let's wait for the music to stop. Introducing Mr. Nicholas. Mr. Nicholas is from Red Hat. He is the channel solution architect. Aside from handling the Red Hat product line in his previous role as product solution engineer in VSTCCS, he also used to handle IBM Power, IBM Storage, IBM SoftLayer, and Oracle software. Upon joining Red Hat, he assumed the role of channel solution architect, and together with the broader Red Hat Philippines team, Nicholas is working to help business partners improve their Red Hat skills. He also works with business partners with the goal of helping customers achieve their goals toward digital transformation using Red Hat solutions. Our next speaker is Melissa Ong, a strategic product manager. Melissa Ong is a key lead and advocate of product innovation and digital transformation to the financial service industries. As a product specialist, she works alongside banks and non-banks, FI in the region, India digitalization strategies and roadmap planning. And our final speaker for today is Mr. Swee Teck, the Vice President of Sales. With over 10 years experience in the areas of fintech and IT security, Mr. Wu is the current Vice President of Regional Sales for Securemetric Technology, the leading PKI system enabler in ASEAN. Always passionate about digital security and fintech, he is a strong advocate of PKI and building a common ecosystem for secure ID exchange across Asia. COVID-19 have been with us since March 2019. The global working arrangement have significantly changed. The way we do business and the way our client conduct business have changed dramatically. Banking is no exception. Changes must take place in order to not only maintain our existing customer, but also to reach out to more potential unbanked population. This is critical for the bank to continue their business and also to grow. Digitalization bring in new opportunity and also operational cost savings. This is very important for all business owner to enjoy growth and lower operational, which equates to higher profitability. Without further ado, I hand over the floor to Mr. Nicholas to share his presentation. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon session. I'm JL Nicolas, Channel Solutions Architect from Red Hat Philippines, and what I would like to talk about today is what are the modern capabilities that enable better open banking. But before we dive into our topic today, let's first take a step back and look at what banks look like in the 1900s. According to an economist by the name of Mr. William Scott, an organization is considered a bank if it has the capabilities to provide these four main services: the safekeeping of money and other valuables, the making of payments, the making of loans, and the making of investments. Let's fast forward to today. While it is true that banking services are pretty much the same now as they were many years ago, the way on how banks deliver on these services, or rather how customers expect banks to deliver on these basic services, has changed dramatically. And like everything in this world, various reasons has contributed to this dramatic change in how banks are now expected to deliver these basic services. This change happened because of something called hyper competition, where the competitive advantage of organizations are no longer sustainable due to the rapid rise of new and better services provided by new entrants. Banks of today can no longer maintain their competitive advantage for a longer period of time. And this is primarily due to having a quick and easy access to advanced technology. Open source and the cloud made it far much easier to get a hold of technology that enables organizations to become more creative and therefore more competitive. Second, evolving regulations around the world made it easier for newcomers to enter the industry, those who are not even banks by DNA. Third, cloud and automation enabled faster and more efficient capacity scaling. And lastly, customers of today gather where their needs and wants are met the way they expected them to be met. So what does this mean for banks? Banks need to change the way they look at and deal with their customers. Banks need to shift from being an organization that focuses on creating products to offer customers in the hopes that they'll appreciate these products to an organization that creates offerings based off of customers' needs. Customer centricity has to be front and center, which means that banks needs to focus their efforts on having better alignment to their customers' needs. And this puts more pressure on the organization, especially on the CIO, because better alignment to customer needs typically means changing how our current IT supports the business. How the CIO will be able to move from IT from being a cost center to a profit center and the value enabler, that would be the question. What would enable organizations to do that? They need to tip the scale, so to speak. They need to have the capabilities that enable them to move bulk of their focus from just keeping the lights on to innovating for the future. And one way they can do that is by embracing the concept of open banking. Open banking is not a new concept, but for those who are unfamiliar, open banking is the use of open application programming interfaces, which enables third-party developers to build applications around the bank. This allows banks to have a more secure way to work with their partner ecosystems, to have better systems integrations, make financial services faster and more efficient, and last but not the least, provide a better personalized experience for their customers. But unfortunately, for some of us, we still think of these new technologies and approaches as a threat to our business. But we need to start thinking of open banking and APIs as opportunities for growth instead of threats. That way, we can be more inclined to do things right and enjoy the benefit it offers to those who really makes it a part of their strategies moving forward. APIs opens up the organization for innovation. It gives banks access to various channels and broadens the ecosystems we're working with, which enables us to target customers previously unreachable using legacy approaches. It allows us to create more and deeper digital touch points with our customers and partners, which will create better alignment to customer needs, resulting in better customer experience, which in turn makes us more sticky with them. And it allows us to carve out more in terms of market share. But traditional approaches to open banking lack agility, requiring more effort to operate and manage. And with the growing capabilities of cyber criminals, they're also becoming more and more difficult to secure. That's why, in order to stay competitive, your APIs, as well as your host of other banking applications, need three essential infrastructure capabilities provided by an open hybrid cloud strategy: speed, stability, and scale. Banks need to come up with new and better ways of serving their customers, which is made possible by developing better apps and APIs. And for banks to be able to do that, they need to provide their developers with all the modern tools and capabilities they need in order for them to be able to focus on what they do best, developing innovative apps and APIs. This is especially true now that we see customers' banking habits has significantly changed ever since the pandemic started. Before the pandemic, customers would prefer to go to their local bank and do what they have to do within the four corners of the bank. But now we see less and less customers going to their local banks. And rightly so, in order to minimize exposing themselves outside, keeping themselves and their loved ones safe from our common invisible enemy, the virus COVID-19. By providing your developers access to modern tools, frameworks, and capabilities, they are now able to deliver innovative applications faster. And this is really important considering we are living in an age where our customers always need fast access to banking services whenever and wherever they are. So let's say you are able to provide your developers what they need in order to develop innovative applications faster. But are they running on the right foundation? In order for your customers to take advantage of your innovative applications and the better services that you offer through them, you need to make sure that your applications run on top of a proven and tested enterprise-grade platform. Banks need to provide their applications a stable and future-ready application platform because good and feature-rich applications are worthless if these apps keep on crashing, are sluggish, or worse, if these applications often fall victims to cyber attacks. Applications need to run on top of a flat platform that provides stability with capabilities to detect and help remediate issues before they even happen to lessen unnecessary downtime and the costs associated with them. Consistency in that the platform provides your administrators with the same management experience across all environments: physical, virtual, private and public cloud, hybrid cloud, and even multi-cloud, shortening their learning curve and enabling them to get more productive quickly. And last but not the least, they need to have a platform capable of enhanced security, having features and functionality that has been recognized by various regulating and certifying organizations that helps protect your applications and your customers' data from rapidly evolving threats of today and tomorrow. And for us, this platform is Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Another important platform used today is Kubernetes. When you couple the developer benefits enabled by an enterprise Kubernetes solution with the ubiquity of the Linux operating system, you are able to architect for any cloud. This marries the stability and security of the Linux operating system with the speed and agility of the Kubernetes application platform for faster delivery of differentiating software to power the organization. For us, this is Red Hat OpenShift, Red Hat's enterprise Kubernetes-based application development and delivery platform, which is built on and includes Red Hat Enterprise Linux, which provides the proven and secure foundation for your application infrastructure that runs on thousands of certified hardware and cloud vendor technologies. This is important since only Red Hat provides a single platform that can run on any infrastructure but still gives you the consistency for development and operations across all environments. And finally, let's take a look at operations. Banks need the capability to efficiently and effectively scale so that they be able to properly and more confidently deal with increased demand. This ability to effectively and efficiently scale and manage your IT infrastructure is enabled by having a standardized and unified strategy for IT automation. Having a standardized and unified strategy for IT automation helps not only simplify your day-to-day operations, but also helps reduce costs associated with disparate tools that eats up valuable time and resources, as well as lowers the risk associated with manual deployment, configuration, and management of your IT assets. Having a standard and unified strategy for IT automation is even more relevant today as automation has become a boardroom imperative because of the benefits it brings to banks and has to function with less staff that is managing your IT infrastructure remotely during the pandemic. And the ultimate outcome from having an open hybrid cloud strategy is that you are able to run and manage applications anywhere, which can then help you achieve the scale you need for explosive or unexpected growth. You are now able to better align and satisfy your customers' needs by being able to develop innovative applications faster that runs on top of a stable and secure future-ready platform and having an effective and efficient way to manage your IT infrastructure even as it grows. But why should you partner with us specifically? It's because being the world's leading provider of open source enterprise IT solutions, we are uniquely positioned to become your trusted partner as you navigate the journey to digital transformation. Because for Red Hat, we know that modern technology adoption is not enough. So our approach to partnering with our customers in their journey to digital transformation is holistic. We not only provide technology that serves as the basis for transformation, we also have consulting and training services that helps our customers employ modern methodologies and have a collaborative culture that fosters better innovation and better aligns and connects technology to their business objectives. For us, success is measured by how well our customers are able to use our solutions to meet their needs. So Red Hat doesn't just provide enterprise class technology you need, but we also have consulting and training services that can help you to be in a unique position to meet your customers' requirements. If you would like to know more on how Red Hat can help banks in their digital transformation journey, we'd be more than happy to discuss this further with you. That would be all for me today, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you, Nicholas. Very insightful information shares with the audience. As it is, many regulatory bodies, many central banks in many countries have approved and is looking at intensify the digital bank in that particular countries. If let's say we are still holding on to the traditional banking, that will be quite challenging because the digital bank are moving in so aggressively that customers need not come into the office, customers need not come into the bank to conduct their business, and everything is done through digital. Apologize for the technical earlier when we started the webinar. Someone was playing a music. I think by now we're sorting out. we have sorted out that issue, and I hand over the floor to Melissa from Infopro to share her thoughts and her views. Melissa? Melissa, we can't hear you, sorry. No, we still can't hear you. Okay, let's while waiting for Melissa to
Now?
yes, we can hear you very well. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry for that, about that. Okay, let me start again. I'm just gonna share my screen again. Okay, so as I was saying, so I'm Melissa, I'm the Strategic Product Manager from Infopro. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'll be bringing you through how an AI-driven digital banking platform can help build a bank's or be part of a bank's digitalization or digital transformation journey. Okay, so just to step back, we know that digital transformation in banking is inevitable now. Established incumbent banks, they can't rest on their laurels anymore. They need to ramp up efficiencies and roll out innovative products and services quicker to compete with today's customers' demands, as well as the uprising of the challenger banks. And then we also know that challenger banks have been the main driver for disruption so far in the financial services industry. They are agile, they disrupt with new products and services, and they typically can move a lot faster than legacy banks. So in this presentation, I'll talk about what it takes to create an efficient banking environment from a banking platform's perspective. So before that, a quick introduction to who we are. So Infopro is an end-to-end banking solutions provider for global financial institutions. We've been in the industry now for over 34 years, and we specialize in enterprise banking systems. We create digital customer experiences. We're also able to deploy in cloud, and our banking processes are AI-driven for maximize efficiency. Our processes and technology are also governed by international standards of best practices. For example, we've achieved a CMMI level 5 maturity. This is the highest level attainable for this certification standard. And we have also been ISO 9001 certified for over 20 years now. We currently have 100 customers in over 32 countries globally. Most of them are in the APAC region, but we also have many client sites in the African region, the Middle East, and in Europe. We are headquartered in KL, Malaysia, and we also have offices in China, Singapore, and UAE. This is a snapshot of some of our customers. You'll see that we cater for big regional banks, such as Maybank, as well as smaller banks. Our clients are in the business of retail banking, corporate banking, and even government banks. We're also able to cater for non-banking financial institutions or credit companies, as you'll see in this column. And we'll explain why and how we're able to do that later with our platform. So these are a few of our latest awards. Most recently, we've won the Best Core Banking Solution Provider 2020 by the FinTech Futures in the UK. Right now, to dive into our topic, as I mentioned earlier, the era of digital banks or digital banking is here. Even as an end user now, you expect your bank to be fully digital, to be more engaging, to be highly efficient in their processes, and to be able to offer you innovative and differentiated products and services that meet your banking needs of today. Fully digital banks or challenger banks, fully digital banks or challenger banks specifically, they are not new. Countries like the USA and in UK, they've seen exponential growth and a boom in this sector. But closer to home, digital banks like Kakao Bank in South Korea or WeBank in China, they've seen extremely successful growth in their venture and are in fact already profitable much faster than their counterparts in the UK and the US. Zooming in a little bit more into the APAC region, we see that digital banking activity is a buzz in this region. And financial inclusion is, of course, a key proponent and a value driver in this region. Much of the uprising of the digital banks in the APAC region is also facilitated by central banks and regulatory bodies. In Hong Kong, 8 digital banks have gone live under the license of the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. And in Singapore, the MAS have already granted 4 digital banking licenses. In Philippines, 3 have been granted to UNO, Tonic, and OF Bank, but we also see the likes of CIMB with its partnership with GCash, as well as Discatech, who have been quite successful in their digital banking offerings. And in Malaysia, we just closed the central bank's application submission where we saw 29 applicants, but only 5 will win the license, which will be announced in 2022. And in Indonesia, the OJK, the Financial Services Authority of Indonesia, is expected to announce new regulations for digital banking fairly soon. So all this, we see that regulatory bodies are acknowledging the exponential benefits that digital banking can bring to the society, and are facilitating a regulatory ecosystem for them. But let's not forget about the strength of incumbent banks. They have well-established reputation, presence, and have the great reach already, and are not to be downplayed. There are 3 options that incumbents can take to participate in the digital banking landscape. So firstly, they can digitalize themselves. This strategy involves retaining their established brand name and offering more digitalized products and services. For example, Maybank's e-wallet, May. Maybank already has a digital app, but May is positioned as something to with more value-added features such as expense tracker, goal savings, and even a restaurant selector for days that you can't decide. And overall, it's got a much friendlier UI UX, making it more personal and accessible to the user. Secondly, this is a bit more drastic, is to launch their own a separate digital challenger bank. Typically, this strategy involves the creation of an entirely new brand, and the incumbents would partner with other players such as fintechs, telcos, or e-commerce companies. Mox, for example, is a digital bank in Hong Kong that is backed by Standard Chartered together with HKT, PCCW, and Trip.com. So together they are a combination of a well-trusted international banking group, Hong Kong's telco and lifestyle leader, as well as Asia's largest online travel agency. So together they leverage on each other's strengths and existing captive client to be successful. And last is to establish a secondary brand. So this strategy is typically used by banks who have a regional presence. For example, UOB's Tomorrow, which is available in Indonesia and in Thailand, and DBS's Digibank in Singapore, Indonesia, and India. Their digital banking outfit typically has more capabilities and differentiated products than in the mother brand. So those are the 3 options. And to summarize what is expected of the next generation digital banking, they must offer a digital-first experience. The app in particular would be the main customer touch points for all transaction, product application, and customer service. Customers would also expect hyper-personalized customer engagement, such as advice based on their savings and spending habits. And better yet, the app can also connect to the larger ecosystem for value-added services and perhaps become a super app of their own to drive usage and app stickiness. And in the digital banking world, a first mover gets the advantage, right? So the speed of customer acquisition is key. A digital bank must be able to onboard customers quickly and remotely. And lastly, they must offer differentiated and digital products and services, ones that go beyond conventional and typical, to offer something that the customer truly wants and needs today. And having said all that, how can Infopro's AI-driven digital banking platform facilitate the building of a successful digital banking ecosystem? First, it's being able to take it from development to launching at great speed to market, a key aspect in winning customers over. And then we have the AI-driven solutions that help to automate processes, making it more efficient, automated, and intelligent. And digital banks win markets over by offering innovative and disruptive products and services. And that is why having flexible configuration is key. Banks can very quickly build their new products from the hundreds of pre-configured templates and adapt them to their needs, their differentiated products. And so this is the new DNA for digital banks. The AI-driven digital banking platform is a one-stop solution to build the next generation digital bank. The entire banking solution sits on a robust data processing and analytics platform that enables AI optimization for banks. As we know, data is the new oil, and harnessing it to generate meaningful insights is key to understanding customers and business performance. And at the back end, we provide also feature-rich core banking engines together with the risk management and compliance capabilities that address the day-to-day banking operations needs. And on top of those foundational back-end models, banks would build their digital customer journeys such as mobile banking, internet banking, wallets, or even establish a unique partner ecosystem to deliver unmatched customer experiences through the app. So the banking platform is built upon key technology enablers. The platform is architected for cloud deployment for optimal scalability and capital efficiency. APIs, as JL has also mentioned quite strongly, is important as it allows the digital banks to connect to third-party services easily, such as to third-party application platforms, as well as other value-added services that help them boost the bank's digital offerings to one that goes beyond banking. Agile and DevOps enable rapid development and deployment. AI and data analytics engines provide the data processing and AI ops that gives bank the upper hand in terms of process and cost efficiency. And lastly, the flexible product factory that we have allows banks to build and configure new products easily and quickly, leveraging on our extensive library of pre-configured templates. So our AI technology is embedded into the front, middle, and back office processes, and ultimately aims to help banks excel in 3 interconnected areas. First, the in-depth customer understanding that AI brings about leads to the creation of relevant products and services, and therefore greater customer engagement. Secondly, intelligent automation optimizes resources and time, and thus leads to lower OPEX. And last but not least, the automation that AI brings about allows for superior process efficiency and turnaround times. The Infopro solution isn't just a core banking system. Our solutions also encompass the digital front-end applications, the risk management and compliance solution, as well as AI and analytics. So these 4 pillars ensure that a robust and secure banking foundation is in place for a smooth and compliant banking ecosystem. And this is a snapshot of a blueprint of all our products. We've got over 50 modules within the 4 key banking pillars that I mentioned earlier. They are all built upon the underlying technology enablers such as AI, analytics, cloud, and open API, which enables our solutions to be able to connect to external platforms. So the digital modules are key touch points for end users. We've got solutions for agents, bankers, and customers alike. And this is where digital onboarding, such as the one that Mr. Wu from Securemetric will be introducing later. This is where digital onboarding would be embedded into and key to customer acquisition. We also have a full range of core banking for both conventional as well as Islamic banking. We've also got risk and compliance as well as analytics modules. So all these modules are highly configurable and scalable and is designed for growth in tandem with the bank's expansion. All these modules can be assembled like Lego blocks, so to say, to support their distinctive business requirements. This is why we're able to cater for financial institutions of any size of business models. Now, to successfully implement the digital banking system, one would need a qualified and proven technology partner that has leading technologies and is able to help you to launch to market quickly. They would also have domestic know-how in terms of regulatory landscape and market needs, and have fully compliant solutions. And lastly, they should be able to collaborate and integrate with other players to build a more complete banking ecosystem. And so before I end, let me just say that we welcome those who are planning to set up greenfield digital banks, or those who are looking towards digital banking transformation on their legacy banking technology, to consider to speak to us on how Infopro's AI-driven digital banking platform can be part of your digitalization journey. And so with that, I end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for sharing. Very interesting indeed to embark to a digital bank. As Melissa said, we have the Lego pieces. So it's not necessary the banks have to invest in a whole digital solution. I mean, getting rid of the existing solution and then implement the new digital solution. With Lego pieces, the banks or the potential digital banks can pick and choose the color, the design, the shape to fit the business. And it is very critical because the traditional bank, normally the challenges for the traditional bank is that I already update to my system last year or last 2 years, and to throw this away is going to be very expensive. Yes, we agree with you. And I think that's what Melissa is pitching, because of the modular solution that is being provided by Infopro, and because of the Lego concept of the solution that is provided by Infopro. And as such, a hybrid could happen, a hybrid could take place, where it will be added value to the bank in terms of operational and speed, and also agility. He's from Securemetric. Mr. Wu?
Right, good afternoon, everybody. I beg your pardon that I probably have to stop my video. Well, I mean, you're here for the slides, not for my face, I guess. And thank you, Infopro, for organizing this great event. And so I'm here to talk about, well, I guess, as Melissa mentioned, stitching together your digitalization journey with customer onboarding. So in specifics, my slides today will actually mention about eKYC and digital signature, and touching a little bit on digital ID as well. So let's move on. All right. And yeah, so I mean, looking at it from the previous two talks from my colleagues JL and Melissa, so we've mentioned on the operational digitization, yeah, where you digitize your core banking, and with the you know, a very robust platform, underlying platform of Red Hat, plus the multi-modular offerings of Infopro. So you've looked at this as a digital bank, right? You're thinking about digitizing your core banking. By Infopro, you're looking at this. So, well, I wouldn't say that this is the last mile of the journey, but it's something that you should think about already, starting with all of these two processes that's working in the back end, which is the process of getting customers to sign up with you, yeah, without actually setting up branches all over Luzon or Mindanao, yeah. So, in specifically, we'll be touching on facial biometrics eKYC. Well, one thing is because we're selling that, of course. The other reason is, of course, it's one of the most widely used and trusted platform right now to onboard customers digitally, right? So you have the eKYC part of the technology, and then from there, we will move on to digital issuing digital identities to your customers, and finally, with that, allowing them to digitally sign for documents, loan agreements, for example. Yeah, so let's look at them, all three of these technologies really quickly. Yeah, so you have your eKYC, the fastest growing digital onboarding technology right now in Southeast Asia. Yeah, currently we are already processing almost millions of onboarding every year with customers from Malaysia. Of course, we have multiple telcos using our platform already, to digital banks in Indonesia, as well as certain InsurTech technology in Philippines itself, yeah, using the eKYC technology that we carry to onboard their customers. So once you've onboarded somebody, you've identified who they are. So the next step would be, as a bank, if you imagine that I walk in front of your counter, after I've identified myself, I've shown my ID, I've proven that I really am who I claim to be, right? You would want to issue me something, an ID that says that I belong to you, I am part of your family, I'm your customer, a valued customer. So in that sense, currently traditional banks will issue, well, I use the term traditional bank loosely, yeah. Don't be offended. But the traditional method would be issuing me a physical piece of plastic, a credit card, for example, an ATM card, right? So how are you going to digitize that? So we carry the digital part of the digital ID portion to stitch the technologies together. And finally, once you've done this, you would want them to avail your services legally, but still in a digital format, right? So there are agreements that need to be signed. There are forms that need to be signed, right? So all of that will need digital signature technology, right? Okay, so we're going to look at all of the items here one by one, starting with eKYC. Yep, facial biometrics recognition. So the challenges of businesses right now, banks, for example, if you want to onboard a customer without really them being present in front of you, well, I mean, the biggest risk exposure is, of course, fraudulent identities. Yeah, I mean, I present myself digitally to you. How do you know I am who I really claim to be? So with that in mind, common types of fraud that we identify in the past 9 years of doing eKYC are the items that we list here. Of course, it's not limited to this. There could be more new things that pop up eventually. But on the document fraud end, you see document tampering, where I change my name to Melissa's name, for example. I'm not as pretty as her, of course, but yeah, you get what I mean when I mention document tampering, right? Fake documents. I present something that is not real. Information tampering often happens as well, where information on the identity is changed, right? And then you have identity fraud, where the face is switched, right? I impersonate somebody else using tactics like sticking a photo on top, hoping to trick the AI that I look like this, where else my face is completely different. And finally, you have the technical fraud, where this is more of the hackers amongst the bad guys, where they use technology to do technical type of fraud, yeah, malwares, for example. So in order to curb all of the items that I mentioned in the previous slide, the technology, the eKYC technology that you decide to use, well, first of all, it has to have very strong and a smart AI that's able to recognize a face presented in front of it against the ID, the matching ID that is also presented. Yeah, so this face and this face on the ID, I hope you guys can see my mouse pointer, has to be verified. This person behind the camera has to be verified against the person on the ID, right? And recognizing the rightful owner of the identity is crucial. And of course, it should be the first step that any eKYC process undertakes. Yeah. So once that is done, you go to the part about liveness detection. So we all know about this particular bit, where instead of having a real person behind the camera. It could be the app. Let's say if the eKYC is done over an app or a website, the camera can be pointing to a picture of a guy, maybe a high resolution picture. Yeah, so how do you tell whether the person behind the camera is the actual person and it's the real live person, right? The one that's intended to be your customer. So detecting of a real live person as well requires a very smart AI that has gathered enough data to give a very, very accurate identification of a real life person versus, for example, deep fake technology that we see on YouTube. Yeah. And finally, verification of the ID. I mean, there are a lot of advantages, especially in the humid of the Philippines, yeah, that we can use to identify whether an ID is real or fake. There are certain holograms that's put in place. For example, there is that micro face, micro image of the face of the user that can be verified against the photo. In case I stick a fake photo on top of the actual photo of the ID. There are micro prints and there are holograms that can be used to detect whether an ID is real or not. And again, these AIs needs to be trained. Yeah? It needs to have enough data to be able to accurately ascertain that this ID is genuine. Okay, so all of this technology needs to be stitched in place, and the common workflow that our solution called OK OK Face goes through the EMAS eKYC. That's our brand actually. Excuse the mention, right? Goes through for a user. The typical onboarding workflow would be firstly, the user will be asked to scan an ID, a valid ID. So in this case, I believe it's a UMID, or is it a driving license? I'm not sure. It's too small, right? So you can capture the ID, and during this process, the OCR technology happens, optical character recognition, where all of the information of the user is captured and stored in the system temporarily. And after that, the process of facial liveness detection and facial verification happens. Yeah. So during one instance of a photo, a snap of a photo that probably just takes 2 seconds, our platform will ascertain whether first the user that's presenting the ID is actually matches the ID, right? The face matching. And at the same time, at that 2 seconds instant, it will also the AI will also detect whether this person is real, right, and not some deep fake camera running in the background. Okay, yeah. So these two processes happen with a snap of a photo, and after that, the OKDoc module takes over, and OKDoc pretty much verifies the document itself, whether everything checks out. Yeah, if the microprint checks out, for example, or is the font size is what is expected, or is the design, or is the hologram that's displayed and captured the correct and expected hologram, right? So all of this process, if you can imagine me walking to a branch, it might take maybe 10 minutes behind the counter or maybe more. This entire end-to-end process of onboarding eKYC just probably will take you not more than 2 minutes. All right, so that's pretty much on the eKYC front. Let's move quickly to the digital ID. I'm not running out of time. Okay, so we are advocates of, we carry PKI technology inherently in our company, public key infrastructure. So one of the main use case of public key infra is actually used as a backbone of issuing very strong and secure digital identity, right? So it's very commonly used. It's just a little bit new in Southeast Asia, but Singapore has, the government of Singapore has taken the lead in their My ID ecosystem, where they've started issuing national digital ID using public key infrastructure. Yeah. So how do you digitize all of these plastic cards into something that will fit inside a mobile wallet securely. So that's where PKI technology comes in, issuing a digital identity to the user. And of course, on top of authentication and authorization, the extra advantage of using PKI is you also open up the use case for digital signature, right? So how do you start issuing these IDs? It's pretty simple. Well, you always start with having a certificate authority. So certificate authorities can be a shared trusted certificate authority where maybe the organization of banks, of rural banks in Philippines, for example, group together and set up a certificate authority that says, okay, this organization will be the trusted body to start issuing digital IDs to all their banking customers. It can be done that way, or more simpler form of just setting up your own certificate authority in-house and start issuing your digital IDs yourself, right? So using that ID that's issued to the individual, tied to their mobile identification, right, tied to a mobile phone, the user can start banking with you digitally very, very securely, authenticating themselves, authorizing transactions, and finally even digitally signing documents, right? So a high-level ecosystem of what you know, a digital ID ecosystem using PKI looks pretty much something like this, right? So with PKI, you have the assurance of authentication, data confidentiality, access control, integrity, and non-repudiation. So non-repudiation is a very strong item that's mentioned in a lot in the PKI industry. Non-repudiation pretty much means that if I use my digital ID to authenticate or sign a transaction, I am not able to deny that I did it, you know, yeah. So I'm not able to say in the end, I did not do this. Yeah, that's what non-repudiation and public key infrastructure assures. And it's a technological assurance on top of legal assurance, which I'll touch later. Right, so PKI used to be really hard to do, but now technology has catch up, of course. Eventually it will on everything. And now if you want to set up a CA internally, it just takes 2 weeks with an all-in-one PKI appliance, for example. Yeah, really quickly. And with that, you already have all of your front-end devices connected to it, which allows you, if you have a multi-factor authentication channel, to do ID verification and authentication using PKI, and of course, integrated with your service delivery channel, which is the mobile app. Okay, so I'm going to touch quickly now on digital signature, and it is closely related to PKI technology. So a little bit on the legality of using digital signatures in the Philippines. Yeah, under the REE rules of electronic evidence, digital signature specifically refers to the use of asymmetric and public crypto system, which pretty much means PKI, right? To use a signer's public key and private key, and with that you can start signing documents electronically and legally. Yeah. So how do you get a document digitally signed? So now, assuming this customer already has a digital identity, a provision to she or him or her, right? So the simple process of uploading the actual document that you require he or she to sign, or we can, of course, integrate the digital signature platform to Melissa's digital banking infra, whichever module that requires this, the loan module, for example. So that simple integration or uploading a document, with that done, the platform will present the document that is meant to be signed exactly as it is supposed to be presented if it is in real life. So if you have a format that you carry and it's a sacred format that operations can't do without, upload that format and it will be presented to the user in his iPhone or in his tablet exactly how it's meant to be presented. And they actually digitally sign for that using strong authentication. Yeah, so you can use biometrics, facial biometrics, for example, to sign, right, the document. You can use a one-time password, a mobile OTP, or fingerprint example. So the list goes on and on, right? So you strongly capture that. So the digital identity plus the authentication will allow you to get the legal part, right? To capture the intent of signing, and that signing is closely tied together with the digital identity. Well, with those two connecting the dots for you on digitally signing a document, you will pretty much comply to the rules of electronic evidence that is in the laws of the Philippines. Yeah, so it's pretty simple. These days, I sign my colleagues' leave, for example, a leave form, and I do it with my mobile phone, and it's legally compliant in the acts of Malaysia and Philippines as well. I have colleagues in the Philippines with just a touch of my finger in an app. Yeah, biometric signing. Yeah, so technology is there. It's just the way how we apply it. Okay, so advantages, of course, pretty much it's the whole last bastion of going digital, right? I mean, if you're gonna go all the way, you still have to digitize your wet signature. So if you're gonna go green, don't forget that last mile. Yeah, so going green, of course, now everybody's working from home, right? So which exacerbates the need for technologies such as what Melissa carries and eKYC and digital signature. Yeah, so of course, storing documents means storage areas, right? So no more cabinets, everything is done digitally, right? And the list goes on, you know, legal acceptance, cloud storage, and of course, documents can be stored for a very long time. Okay, so now that I've talked about all three technologies, let's see how we stitch all of them together, and using a simple loan application as a case study, which is actually already live in Malaysia. We have one company, financial company, that's using this particular method to onboard loan customers. All right, so customer normally visits a website and fills up an online form. And from there, customer starts performing the eKYC, right? Either through the browser or through a link that we send in an SMS or through an app itself. And once that is done, Melissa's platform, with the assistance of Red Hat as the background, will start processing the application. And of course, the internal workflow takes place where there is an approver maybe, or there's a reviewer if that is necessary. Yeah? With AI, of course, the AI does everything these days. So once that is done, our platform can then take over after the creation of account, and with that, issuing a digital ID to the customer. So you provision a digital ID, PKI-based digital ID, and with that, the customer will be presented the loan agreement, for example, that he or she can sign immediately once they get the approval, or even before that. And once that is done, you have a customer that's onboarded with you and is able to digitally sign for services in the future if you want to do your cross-sell. So all in all, it's a completely stitched ecosystem. You combine solid and robust OS with the core banking technology and digitize service delivery front with eKYC and digital ID and digital signature. All right. Thank you very much. That is my last slide. Of course, we're open for questions, and we're completely reachable anytime. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wu. Thank you, Mr. Wu. I guess that exhibit the ease of onboarding for customers with that technology, with eKYC technologies coupled with Infopro's solution, and also Red Hat linking in at the back. The penetration of customers, or the effort to get customers, is now limitless. The bank will need to focus on giving a great product, a more product that is more competitive, while the customer can be onboarded regardless which region they are, which areas of the country they are. And with the certification or with the identification security, where AI is there. And I believe, Mr. Wu, part of the AI is also to recognize the aging of that particular person, if I'm not mistaken. when, of course, certain identification is taken, the photograph of that identification is taken at an earlier age, and as that person grow older, the AI is there to actually facilitate the aging, right? We have a couple of questions here. We have another one question to Melissa. Melissa, does Infopro have any track record of integrating a legacy core banking system with your system?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for the question. Yes, of course. We have over 30 years of experience in integrating with with legacy core banking systems in many different countries. It depends on also, I think, on what context of digitalization that you're looking for. We're able to, for example, if you're just looking for a digital application to connect to a legacy core banking system, we're definitely able to do that. At the same time, you can also consider running a digital application with a new core banking platform in parallel as part of your digitalization transformation, and gradually migrate out of your existing legacy core banking system. Again, this goes back to, I guess, the context of the type of bank that you're talking about. If, for example, if it's a legacy banking system in a small rural bank, they're typically on a client server infrastructure, and we can therefore propose to have a new core running in parallel, and then after that do a gradual migration out of it, or to move into a more centralized core banking setup as opposed to individual branch servers. So that would be like a SaaS model.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for sharing that. To Mr. Wu, there is a question addressed to you. Do you still need a physical ID card to complement your digital ID? And there's also another question. I think I'll give you both questions. How do you start your digital ID project with undocumented community who do not have any documentation to verify the ID to begin with? This is hypothetically for a government planning to implement digital ID.
Right. Okay, I'll go with the first. Thanks, Roslan. I'll go with the first answer. Well, actually, it's a very subjective thing. The clear answer is actually no. It may sound blasphemous. I don't know. Excuse me, for traditional banks to not issue plastic cards to people, because I mean it's so ubiquitously used, right? But in fact, you can really do without physical plastic cards. If you have friends in the Scandinavia, you can probably check with them on how the bank ID in Sweden, for example, almost pretty much replaced all cash and all credit cards in the country, right? In countries like Estonia, for example, and for a thing that really needs ID, even voting has been digitized. So if they can digitize voting, you can definitely digitize your payment, right? So if you start on a fresh digital banking initiative, right? Fresh as in, you know, you're starting out without any users whatsoever. You can go completely digital, no plastics, payments and whatever onboarding that you do, everything is done digitally, and it's completely fine. But the idea behind using PKI is you really need something that is, well, pretty much assures the integrity of the ID, yeah? And using public key infrastructure gets you to that level. So on the second question, that's going to be really hard to answer. So there are countries out there that might want to leap in front, but it is actually quite hard to embark on, to do eKYC on people without any form of identification as well, right? I know for a fact that the Philippines government has already started a national ID initiative, which is excellent, right? And also at the same time, the Philippines at least still has a birth certificate that is issued to a user. So whatever it is, there still has to be a form of physical identification versus face, right? If there is completely no identification, I guess there could be a process where there are people that are trusted vouching for this individual. For example, there are cases where you have, for example, the village chieftain of, yeah. So when I say village chieftain, it means those, really um, developing economies such as Malaysia, where you don't have identity at all, back during those days, that vouch for an individual that says, yes, this is the correct person, and I can vouch that he is who he claims to be. And I guess if you want to digitize that process, so the chieftain, well, the trusted individual plus the other individual that does not have an ID needs to go through an onboarding process together, which is just workflow. Yeah, in our case. Thanks. I hope that helps. Thanks.
We have someone raising a hand by the name of Umi. If you could please type your question in the chat box, we are more than happy to answer that. Because we can't see we can see your question. We saw you're raising your hand, Umi, and also Potia Alfonso. You have raised your hand. Appreciate if you could type it in the Q&A, then we can pick it up. We just give a few moments. Let's just wait for the questions to come in. Umi and Mr. Alfonso, I think I have a question and something to raise. Appreciate if you could type in the Q&A, and we are more than happy to pick it up. And if we can answer it live, we answer it live. Not an issue on that. Okay, the question is, how is licensing? Are you referring to the licensing for the solution, or are you referring to the, Mr. Potia Alfonso, how is the licensing? Are you referring to the licensing on the solution, or is it licensing on the digital signature? On the solution, right? Mr. Potia Alfonso is asking, how is the licensing on solution? Melissa, if you want, you can address this.
Melissa, by the way, I think Portia is a she.
A she, right? Okay, sorry, my apologies.
Hi, Portia. Thanks for the question. I think we're talking about licensing for the digital banking solution. I think we have a few models. It depends also on the deployment option. Do you want it on cloud? Do you want it on-prem? I think and we also have the SaaS modules. So I think if we get a bit more information, that would help to, I think we just have that there are just so many options. I think it will be easier to perhaps if we could have an email to understand, then we can work something out in terms of licensing. But we have a few options.
From a continuation question from Potia Alfonso. So CAPEX and OPEX both works? Melissa? Well, I think what Melissa, Potia Alfonso, if you, what Melissa is sharing is that both the solution can be on CAPEX and OPEX. I think Infopro do provide a subscription model as well, and the outright purchase of the solution, right, Melissa?
Yep. Yes. Thanks, Mr. Roslan.
Okay, I'm waiting for Umi. Umi, if you have anything, Umi. If not, then all right. Thank you, Potia Alfonso. Thank you very much for your question. We're waiting for Umi. If Umi, what we'll do is that after this, if you can just give us an email, we'll be more than happy to share with you your questions and whatever queries you might have. in lieu of time, in due to lack of time. We thank you everyone for attending the webinar today. Be on the lookout through our portal, through our website. I think we are targeting another webinar next month, sometimes late August, to share on the cost effective of bringing in the solution to the bank, and how the bank can actually save money or less pricey solution, and making the bank digitals in that sense. That will be advertised or that we place in our website. Look out for the date and time. We'll be doing it together with another partner who is giving a more less costly and more cost-effective solution. Okay. With that, if there is any question, yes, if there's any question to Rehat, please email it to jnicolas at rehat.com. And for our site, you can also email at Melissa Ong at infopro.com.my, or go to our website. There's even for Securemetric as well. Go to our website where there is a Q&A column there, and we are more than happy to pick it up there from there. Right, with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much for attending the session today, the webinar today. I'm looking forward to meet all of you again in the next webinar, which is happening hopefully in August, late of August. With that, of course, to improve our webinar, webinar, how we conduct the webinar, we would appreciate if you all could help us to scan the QR code here and to give us our feedback. Again, I apologize for the initial stage of the webinar where we have some technicalities, but that at the end of the day, we achieve what we want. That is the sharing session by Infopro, by Red Hat, and also by Securemetric, despite the challenges. So this is what Digital Bank is all about. This is actually an exact example of Digital Bank. We are concerned of technologies, but bear in mind, it will come back, it will achieve what your desire is, it will help you to get more profit, it will get you to get more clients on board, it will get you to more unbanked areas, and the geographical is limitless. And also with that, I think as shown by Mr. Wu, once the customer on board, all the data that is captured will be automated, populated. So our backroom people does not have to spend time more on filling up forms, more on checking typo error or name errors, that sort of things, because the customer on board themselves, right? With that, I bid you all farewell. I wish you all stay safe with COVID. It is challenging, in fact, for everyone. Stay safe. Do protect yourself. Do wear your face mask, and also always wash your hand, and please have that social distancing. So hope to see you all again. Thank you very much for attending, and stay safe. Thank you. Thank you.